So, good afternoon, everyone. So excited to be here at the Job Security Summit. Today we're going to talk about COBOL and Angular. No one knows how it works. Learn it. You will always be employed. Now, seriously, the title for today is Kiss My App. And because it's 2022, let's start with a short disclaimer. This talk is not encouraging you in any way to kiss my app or anyone else's app. You can kiss your own app if you like. I can kiss your app if you let me. Let's get started. John Lennon said, there are no bad practices, just trade-offs. Seriously, because before he died, passed away, you can check it out. But if there's one thing that I would like you to take from this session, which is not going to be very technical, it's more just let's talk about things that you already know, is this one. This is the most important thing. Because best practices, or even the term best practice, it's got some issues. We tend to stick to best practices and, it's easy for us. We don't need to think too much. Let me give you a practical example from real life. If you Google how to play a recorder, you will find these instructions, which is basically you can hold it like this and you can play it. And you can spend your entire career playing the recorder like this. But let's think about it technically. We need flowing air to play the recorder. We're going to break the best practices, the manual. And what about two recorders? So what's the point? Nothing, basically. Thank you. I do always also bar mitzvahs and weddings. There are no best practices, only trade-offs. If you want to know what's the trade-off, you can check out this flute later on. Great things happen when we start breaking down best practices. That's what I'm here to say. And I want to tell you a tale. Let's start with once upon a time, because all the people here, at least I believe part of you are not doing like software development for 20 years, maybe even was like 5 years old. So let me tell you something. Once upon a time, there was no front end and no back end. Once upon a time, we were all just software developers. That's it. There was not even the term full stack. I don't believe it was exist. We are software developers. From time to time, we need to build a UI because it's part of our job. Full stack development, it's a kind of a new buzzy term for something that we used to do. Basically, you can build software which can have a graphical user interface, GUI, or not. And these days, there's a questions that keeping me busy. Are we front-end developers in 2022? How much time in your job today you spend on actually building the UI part, the visual part? Maybe you use some UI component library. Maybe you spend most of the day in the skill set that is required from a front-end developer in 2022. It's a bunch of other things which got nothing to do with UI. So you need to work with Git, and you need to own your pipeline, and you'll be dealing with performance, with other aspects of web development. When I made the switch from building website to building web applications, the term RIA was very popular. Who knows this? Just raise your hand. I just wonder, how old are you without saying your age? RIA, it stands for Rich Internet Applications. So we stopped building website, and I was a RIA developer. I used Flash and Flex. And again, part of my skill set is to know everything about from databases, and eventually there is graphical user interface. Now, these days, user interface is a tricky term because it's not always graphical. I mean, if you build voice actions for a voice-activated device, are you a front-end developer? Do you consider yourself a front-end developer? Interesting question. I'm the only one who interested in it? Maybe, yeah, because, yeah, I'm not doing too much with my life, so I've got a lot of time to think about it. So what is KISS? KISS stands for Keep It Simple, Originally Stupid, but we don't say the word stupid because it's 2022. So KISS stands for Keep It Simple and Straightforward, Keep It Simple, whatever, you name it. It's easy to talk about it. It's easy to aim to it. I believe that most of us, we had this conversation, how we can make things simple, build complex things, build it simple, build it small, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, but it's very hard to do. KISS is also a forgotten band, but it's a different thing. And we went a long way from sending some HTML to the browser to today, basically, when we build micro frontends from multiple single-page applications that use different frameworks, and that's just a starter. I should add a monorepo inside. I mean, our default projects become huge architecture. How many of you heard Neta Bondi earlier today? 50%? Neta? She was, I think, the... All right, cool. We need to ask ourselves, maybe we took it too far. Maybe front-end development, which is like kind of a new term, become too complex with no reason. Maybe, I'd say just maybe. The complexity of the web applications that I build today, it's not different from the web applications that I used to build 10 years ago. So what have changed? The internet was slower. Now the browser is stronger. Cool. And then React. And then React came out, I believe it was 2013, 14, something like this. Remember this? There's a quiz by the end of this conference. And, you know, almost immediately become very, very popular. And why it became popular? I believe that most of us, it was like a fresh breeze of, there is a JavaScript library that can do one thing and can do it one only thing. I've mixed my English. But you get the point. A JavaScript library that's got one job, which, you know, I'm not a big fan of Microsoft, but it's like, you know, Office suite. It's like Adobe. You've got like an application for something specific, like you've got Excel if you want to write spreadsheet. Of course, you can write documents and you can build slide deck out of Excel, but you won't do it. I mean, the one best thing that Excel can do, it's basically spreadsheets. And you've got Word for documents and PowerPoint for presentation, and this thing that I don't know what it does. I heard, yeah, all right. Let it sink. Let it sink. There's going to be another VS Code joke up ahead. So if you missed this one. Anyway, what I'm trying to say that React was fresher because it was simple before we made it complex. So if you read the description of this talk, I mentioned BDD, which stands for you're tired, you're sleepy after lunch. Stand for buzz-driven development. Yeah. Buzz-driven development, which basically the circle of death. There is a new library introduced, and then there's a lot of buzz and blog posts and YouTube videos, and everyone uses it, so we should use it too. And it's actually become something that we seriously consider when we choose technology. I had a very interesting conversation with colleagues from other companies in our small industry, and it seems like that if the library is popular or not popular, in most companies become a real thing. I mean, we're gonna choose React because it's more popular than Angular, and we need to, and we want to get the top talents out there to use it. Sometimes even we will choose, and we all doing it, and now we say it loud. maybe it's not the right technology to use, but it's the popular technology to use right now. Cool. So let's look forward. Some examples from recently. Hey, the hook, use effect, it's great. You might not need use effect. Redux, here Redux is gonna solve your problem. You might not need Redux. Actually, the same person that built Redux, that's his quote. You should use Sass instead of styled component. You should use styled components instead of Sass. You should use Vite for your next project and not create React app. Why? Because it's built for performance, and your app, when it's gonna get complex, build times. Yeah, you familiar with Vite? Who's familiar with Vite? Who's familiar? Yeah. It's a great tool, but the selling point is it's fast, yeah? Your code gonna grow. Your app gonna become complex. So maybe, just maybe, if your app become big and complex, break it down. Just saying. And maybe we solve a problem that does not exist. So why should we replace the tool that it's working for us? I told you it's like a philosophical session with things you already know. So KISS principle. KISS principle is basically a bunch of statements. A lot of them are like kind of practical. Most of them are not, but it just open our mind. It's communicate a little bit with Neta Bondi session. And I just collected a few of them, and then we're gonna do some live demo of something. So the first one, pronounced Tim Tody, I think, TMT. There is more than one way to do it. And for this one, actually, I wanna play with code a little bit because I talked too much and we looked at slide too much, and I don't like it. So it's come up a lot of times when we're doing code reviews, and a lot of teams, maybe you agree with me and maybe not. I mean, one thing that we like about React, and if you're not agree with me, you can just shout out or something, is you can leave the room, please. She's here for the food, yeah. One thing that we like about React is, the composition components, wrapper component. I mean, we can create an error boundary which wraps suspend, for example. Suspend? Yeah. Too many beers. Suspense. Which wraps whatever, some lazy component, which is using children. It doesn't really matter what I write down, the concept. We like this in React. I like it in React. I look at this piece of code and I think it's readable, it's beautiful, it's declarative, it's whatever. But when it comes to other things, I've got a lot of argues with other developers. For example, what happened if you want to show something, conditional rendering? For example, let's take this image and we want to show it conditionally. So I can do this. Very popular. Believe you agree with me. I mean, that's the right way to do it. Maybe the most popular way to do it. But what if we've got more than one condition? So I would like to quote Neta from earlier session. And she said something like, I took a note here, write functions. Maybe she said some other things. No, I'm kidding. I heard everything. But I took this one, write functions, use functions. And sometimes we forget that React components are just functions. So one of the things that I like to do is to build a component, a utility component, that looks like this. I can call it switch, because it's going to switch. Obviously, you know what? Let me just grab it out from... Now, let's code it. We've got enough time. I'm going to call it switch. It's going to take some value. I'm going to use children. One of the... Actually, I don't know if it's the best practice, but a good practice is to use a children API from React and use toArray and convert children to array because it's not an array originally. And then I can filter this array and I can decide that each child And now I'm going to use the fact that React is plain object. I can return if there's a prop, child prop, and let's use like a valid HTML data match. Let's say it equals the value, something like this. Props, children, props. Cool. Props, yeah? And with this simple function, I can write code that looks like this. Switch, and I can pass some value, something that I want to switch, like count. And then I can use some plain elements, and I can use the data match, or whatever I would like to use, but this one is valid. And then I can give it, I don't know, 2, show if 2. And just for, so we have another case, and that's going to be 4, show if 4. And then I look at this piece of code, and I say, all right, I find it much more useful. And it's just, you know, that's my own opinion, just small thing to warm up before we move to another live demo. And a lot of developers don't like it, and they fight with me on this. No, it's not JavaScript. But I would like to see some suggestions which are not including like early return and put it on the component that show this, how Neta said, a beautiful piece of code that I totally understand because I created a simple utility function. So something to think about. I'm going to share this code with you when we're done. So let's back to our kind of principles. So this one was easy. The famous one, Yagni, is connected to things that I've already said. So we can go really fast through this. Don't add functionality until then necessary. But we are all doing the same thing. We are all keeping building new projects with defaults. We're like endless defaults. So learner or annex and a UI library and state management and styling, whatever it is. All right? In Hebrew, we call it Hachana Lemazgan. For the English speakers, is PFAC, preparation for air conditioning unit. Fluent English, yeah, that's my native language, as you could understand. The last one, before I will show you something that might surprise you, is this principle, DTS TTTCPW, pronounced as W, which is do the simplest thing that could possibly work. Now, I didn't make it up, all right? I mean, read a little bit about it because it might open your mind, and it goes against everything that we aim to do in our day-to-day job. We don't want to do the simplest thing that can possibly work. Maybe we want to do it, but some workarounds are involved. Again, in the previous session, Neta discussed keeping your code dry or keeping your code wet. What's going to be the simplest thing that could possibly work? And we can obviously scale it up. All right. So just because it's popular doesn't mean it's good for you. And now let's take the last 10 minutes and show something which is, I think it's going to be some kind of surprise for the youngest developers here. And maybe 2010. How many of you have wrote like build web application in 2010? Raise your hand. We've got enough people here. Cool. What happened in 2010? First of all, PHP developers were rock stars. Yeah. These days, you can call the hotline. It's a real number. If you know someone that actually still looking for a job or need to convert to JavaScript, please call this number. I will share these slides with you. But that was 2010. And one framework, one very interesting framework before Angular and before React, which these days there's frameworks built on top of React, becomes a big thing. So all this battery included Ember, and I can go on and on. There was this tiny framework. Who had a chance to build something with Backbone? Raise your hand. Cool. So to end this talk, and there's a point behind it, I would like us together to start a tutorial for a front-end developer in 2022 using Backbone and React. Why? Because it's kind of a tiny reminder that frameworks that solve real problems doesn't have to be complex. Frameworks can still give us the flexibility to choose what works for us, and because it's just fun. So let's give it a. Would you like to try it or see some more slides? All right, cool. Just checking. Actually, you don't have any choice. I have 10 minutes. It's not polite to leave the room, so just sit down and watch. All right, so it's 2010, and now I'm gonna say some dirty words, people. I'm gonna, all right, sit tight. I'm gonna say model on front-end development. I'm gonna say controller. Controller, yeah. What else? View. Yeah. What else? Actually, if you work with Backbone, there is a nice utility called collection. Collections. Collections, I can't see. Collections. All right. Nice. When React just went out, the slogan on the website was React. Who remembers? React is the V for your MVC. That was the initial idea. React is doing one thing, it's going to be the view for your MVC pattern before MVC become unpopular. We don't talk about Bruno. All right? So, let's try to recover this idea. Now, you don't need to sit down and watch me type. I'm going to build a component. You know what? Why? Let's start with the most basic thing. Let me take this piece of code. And literally just copy it to our working app. This is what you're looking at right now. This is the Backbone model, because once it was much simpler to talk about. I used NPM. I took model. I'm extending it. I'm using modern JavaScript because it's 2022. I'm just, initialize some things in the constructor. I've got my custom method on it. And because I'm extending Backbone model, I get for free a bunch of things that I might want to use. So if I'm going to instantiate this task, all right, I'm going to have a bunch of methods that I can use with, like fetch and get and abstraction on top of API. We're gonna use it in a second. So that's my model. Let's move forward. I want to create a collection of tasks. I'm going to take this file. I'm going to put it right here inside our collections. And this is how the old Backbone framework looks in 2022. I've got a JavaScript class. It's not even TypeScript. I can use TypeScript. I'm instantiating a model. I'm initialize an endpoint. I get fully RESTful implementation for free. And we don't talk about REST anymore. Yeah, these days it's what? React query, GraphQL, I don't know. Simple collection. I'm going to get a bunch of methods for free out of this collection. But let's move to the interesting part. How a controller look like? Well, what if I'm going to take hooks and I'm going to say that my controller is a React hook? The Backbone framework works on a very, very simple principle. If you created a collection, you can listen to specific events. React, the beauty in React, you want to re-render, you should call setState. In this specific hook, I'm using the useState hook. So basically, I can take something very modern that we like, the hooks API. I can call it a controller. I can work with a model and a collection for a tiny framework. And let's see if that's going to work. in any way. All right? So, the view. Let's put it here. Sorry. Views, tasks. I'm going to copy it right here. And this is how our view looks like. And this is like modern React. There's nothing special here. I just need to make sure to fix the imports, because I believe that now it wouldn't be able to resolve. So I will take use tasks from controller, which should be controllers, and collections. That's good. And here it's a model task. And now you can take this task collection wherever you are. You can push, you can keep things simple and old and works, and let React act reactivity. Forget about it. I lose my vocabulary again. And let React do its things, and let's see if it's gonna work. So it's 2010, yeah? This view called tasks from view. And I think I've got it up and running. Yeah, of course. Cannot find models. No, it's just a matter of a bad import somewhere. Let's try to find it quickly just so we can end up with some working code. That's not this project. Where are you? Here are you. All right, this is fine. No problem with imports right here. That's the problem. And yeah, all right. This is just, the key, because I'm doing a map. So there's no surprise that works. It's not surprised that it works the way it should work. But that's not the point. The point is that I've got a challenge for you, if you would like to take it. Take this old, unpopular things that were not mentioned today, this MVC flexible framework from the past, 12 years ago. Try to implement the initial idea of react.js, a small focused library to build UI. Explore Backbone. Try to build something useful using Backbone and React as an exercise. I can tell you that I used to have one client that we actually built something real in production using Backbone in 2020. Why not? RESTful and MVC, it's not a bad thing to say. It's not like PHP. All right. So, let's summarize. Like I told you at the beginning, this is not a deep technical talk. It's an entertainment talk to let you think a little bit about something that make me busy lately. Did we made front-end development unnecessarily complex? Are we coming up with problems and then try to solve them? Can we keep things simple? Can we learn from the past and aim for the future? That was like a wonderful statement. Code made for humans. All right? Netta talked about it a lot. Watch it on YouTube if you missed her talk. Let's not forget it. Other tips. Use triple layer toilet paper. It's much more software than you think. It's drastically changed my personal life and my professional life. If you want to know what's the connection between them, you can visit me at the Next Insurance booth out there. It's easy to add complexity. It's hard to reduce it. Don't build your default React app with all the latest libraries and extra layers. It's easy to add them later. I know, we talked about it, we're not doing it, all right? And there are no bad practices. Always questions, always try to break them and challenge them. If you want to keep talk about it, you are more than welcome to visit me at the Next Insurance booth. I was Nir. If you want to learn more about me, you can visit nir.live. And if you want to get free cold beer because it's late and learn how you can play 3 flutes at once. I'll catch you later. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed.